Blog Talk Radio.
We are the UR Tennis Network. Our mission is to be the voice of tennis. We enlist a team of passionate enthusiasts to promote our sport. We strive to bring interesting perspectives on the many spins of tennis. Our goal is to provide the learners of our sport with current news and information from many angles. We seek active participation from communities interested in tennis, but tennis is not interested in them. We are expanding our outreach. Tennis is a true lifetime sport that needs to be talked about, and the UR Tennis Network pledges to pursue this idea relentlessly.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Parenting Aces radio show on Blog Talk Radio's UR Tennis Network. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, and I'm really excited to jump right into today's show with you guys. We have with us as a guest Bruce Schilling, and Bruce is with New Balance and with their tennis division, and he is on the air and sharing airtime with Bill Mountford of USTA. And the two of them are going to talk with us today about a new tournament that's coming in July, the New Balance High School Tennis Championships. And rather than sit here and give you a whole lot of background, I really just want to jump right in because we have a lot of information. Several of you have emailed me questions that you have on this tournament. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and bring Bruce and Bill on the line. Gentlemen, are you with me?
Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Bruce.
Lisa, I am off.
Okay, great. Thank you guys both for calling in today. And the reason for having you both on the show together is this really is the brainchild of Bruce and New Balance, but you're putting it on in conjunction with USTA. Is that correct?
It is. You know, when we came up with the idea of the tournament, we wanted to make sure, foremost, especially in the early years of it, that it was a pinnacle event and run the best possible way. And there's no one with more experience at running tournaments in the U.S. than USTA, and we're delighted to have them on board.
Fantastic. So, Bruce, give us a little bit of background on the impetus behind this tournament. What made you come up with the idea and what you're hoping to achieve by putting on a tournament for high school tennis players?
Well, we've recognized high school tennis for a long time as an undervalued area of the game. And personally, I like to think that high school players consider themselves tennis players the rest of their lives. And I think that considering the industry and the concern about the health of the game, et cetera, that those people are people we should pay a ton of attention to. And certainly at the high school level, there are all levels of players who continue to play throughout their lives. And we wanted to recognize them and speak to them directly. And this gave us a great opportunity to bring attention to them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled. So, Bill, let me ask you, because one of the questions I keep getting is, do you think that USTA may now start including high school tennis in its rankings, or is there an idea to maybe explore that a little bit further?
You know, that's an interesting conundrum. I would suggest that in time that the notion of rankings could change a lot. And I would love for high school matches to count and, you know, to count on a player's record. So there's a lot of complications with rankings the way our current structure and system is, not the least of which is how you age up and credit for beating players who are older than you. There are solutions to that, but I think that will take time.
Right. And
I'll give you, for instance, I'm not trying to be cryptic, but I mean, one of the solutions that's presented often is ratings. And we presented this to Bruce because, again, this event has been very much so New Balance driven, and I really appreciate Bruce saying how they have confidence in the USTA's ability to run this event. And every decision that we make's got to go across Bruce's desk. But we had an issue with that in this very tournament, which is that there are some states where there are kids that could be competing in high school tennis at age 13. There's certainly examples of boys and girls who could be 19, all of whom can qualify for the New Balance High School Tennis Championships this July in Boston, and we had to figure out a way of accommodating them. And for this particular tournament, for this inaugural, Bruce has offered the green light and allowed us to use the UTR, Universal Tennis Rating System, to establish which players are able to get in the event.
Yeah, and I saw that, and I want to just remind my listeners that Dave Howell of UTR actually was a guest on the Parenting Aces radio show in December of 2012 and did a great job explaining how UTR works. So I want to encourage all of you to go back and listen to that podcast. You can find it on the radio show tab on ParentingAces.com, so that you have a little bit better understanding of UTR and how it can be applied. So I just wanted to mention that quickly because I know a lot of people aren't familiar with UTR, and rather than spend a lot of time going back explaining how it works, it's just easier, if people can go back and listen to that podcast. So, Bill, you mentioned something interesting, that there's a vast difference across the country of how old you have to be to participate in high school tennis. And I know, you and I have talked about this. My son has a summer birthday, so in July, after his senior year of high school, he'll turn 19, which makes him ineligible to compete in USTA junior events, but would still leave him eligible for this high school championship. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that's the way Bruce intended it. Bruce, jump in over me as you wish, but the notion is, and by the way, there are some kids that go to take a PG year, postgraduate year, who are 19 that might be the best players in their respective states, and we want that tournament to be open to them. The major requirement for entry into this tournament is that you have had to participate on your high school team during the season.
And whether that's a fall season or spring season,
yep.
Correct?
Yep. I think, I give, not to get overly flowery with Bill, who I speak with every day, so I want to be careful, but I give the USTA huge credit. There are a lot of perceptions about the USTA out there, and with this event, they're breaking a lot of molds and been really, really forthright and helpful in trying to do something different and new for the game and for these kids. And it's been really a fun endeavor. And the first year will be unique for sure. And I think in the following years it will, a lot of the edges will hone out and everybody will be more comfortable with it going forward.
So let's talk about the selection process for this tournament, because I keep going to the tournament website on Tennis Link, and it's being updated as you guys kind of figure out all the little details. But the biggest question I'm getting right now from parents is, what are my kids' chances of getting in? So let's talk about what the draw size is going to be and how you guys are going to determine who is selected for the actual tournament.
Bill, you want to take the lead on it?
Yeah, happy to. Initially, I think that the original kernel was that to qualify for this tournament, you have to win your state singles championship. And we did, along with Home Team Marketing, another firm that's working directly with the state associations, had a lot of conversations with state associations, and they expressed some real concerns that could impact upon a player's future high school eligibility if their, for example, Pennsylvania State High School Championship was viewed as an entree into a national tournament or an all-star team, which relates to other sports. And we came back with a suggested solution to Bruce, which is that we got to figure out a way of being inclusive to get kids from all over the country who can do this, but we also want to keep the standard pretty high. And that's how we arrived at, as I mentioned, the rating system. Now, it's not particularly an endorsement of one rating system versus another. This was just the most practical one, and we're dying to see how it looks and how it works for a national tournament. The way the players are going to be selected, and you mentioned the registration portal, it's up on Tennis Link, so any parent or coach or any player who wants to go on, just go to Tennis Link, click on National Junior Tournaments, click to July. We're there during the week of July 21 through 25, 21 through 24. You can't miss it. Just click on and you can register. The one requirement is you had to have played high school tennis. And then from there, the top players, based on their ratings, will get selected. But we also will reserve the right to have fair geographic distribution. So, for example, if a player has done extremely well, maybe won the Minnesota State High School Championship, we want to make sure that she has a place in a tournament like this. And you'd asked also a little bit about the draw sizes, Lisa. It's going to be 64 boys, 64 girls. So one of the things, and Bruce kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, that we're really delighted about is the fact that we had a week on the calendar after the clay courts ends, but before the National 18s intersectionals. There's an open week, and we wanted to make sure that a lot of top players, maybe kids that aren't necessarily always getting into national tournaments even, have an opportunity to play several matches. So it's going to be a 64 draw. We're going to do a compass draw, so players are going to get multiple matches throughout the week. And, it should make for a great player experience. And I think in a few minutes, when we get to it, I'd love for Bruce to also talk about all the wonderful amenities that we're going to be offering, because it should be sort of like one of those incredible events.
Yeah, that's on my list of questions too. But let me just ask something that you mentioned. You talked about initially awarding spots to the players who had won their state high school singles. In Georgia, where I live, we only have a state team competition. We don't have an individual competition. I don't know if that's unique to Georgia, if there are other states that are in a similar boat, but it's going to be tricky, and I love the idea of using UTR. My only concern, I guess, is that people aren't all that familiar with that rating process. And so will you guys provide some sort of information, or, maybe, if you're rated between this number and that number, your chances of getting in are pretty good. But if,
I think Lisa, I'm sorry to interrupt, it's kind of hard until we have all the applicants in to do that. We're open to all the kids that play high school tennis, and so once the application process is closed, we'll have a better idea. But, to date, we have over 40 applicants, and which we're pretty excited about, because a number of the state high school championships haven't occurred yet.
Right.
But to your point, it's a change, and now I'm going to wax poetic. I apologize, but I think change is challenging for people, but I also think it can help progress where we're headed in tennis, especially for these kids. Bill mentioned something I think is really important. It's not just about kids that play tournaments every weekend. It's, we hope to get a kid from Alaska. We hope to have kids from Maine. We hope to have kids from all over the country that represent high school tennis nationally, and that's a different approach. So I think it's going to take a little time for people to assimilate to the ranking system that we're using, but and also to our judgment based on where the kids are from. But we want to give everyone a broad opportunity and represent the country if we can in high school tennis. So that's a big challenge to us as well, frankly.
Sure, and
it's not clear. In other words, I can make it easier. It's probably not as clear cut as we'd like it to be ourselves.
Is anything?
Yeah.
Speaking as a parent, I mean, a couple questions come up for me. One, it sounds like at this point you're encouraging everyone who's even remotely interested to sign up, because the more applicants you have, the better you're going to be able to figure out how to make this a diverse player field in terms of geography. But here's my issue as a parent. It's expensive to fly to Boston, and it's expensive to book a hotel and all of that. And so the sooner we can know if a kid is in and go ahead and make our travel plans, the more economically we can travel to Boston for the event. So I guess one question is, do you have a date at which the selection process will happen, and will that be in plenty of time for people to get good airfares, good hotel rates, etc.?
We do. Bill, what's the exact date? Because it is early.
Thanks, Bruce. It's June 19th, and the selection will occur shortly thereafterward, by June 20th, where there'll be contact made with all the players that are in, and also, Lisa, to an alternate list. And your point's a really good one, and that's something that the whole team from Bruce on down has been so sensitive about. One of the things that we really would love to turn on its head is the notion of how incredibly expensive these junior tournament experiences are. And among the things that we're doing is we're going to be offering kids a deeply discounted hotel experience. Now, initially, the notion was to have the kids stay in a dormitory, but we got so much feedback already from parents that, well, we're going to be traveling with our children anyway, so we have to find a hotel. We were able to get a local hotel. It hasn't the contract hasn't been finalized yet, but the rate on that. Bruce, can I share that rate yet on this call?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold on.
Sure.
The rate will be the tournament is going to be absorbing a great deal of the expenses. A top of the line hotel in Boston is going to go for $119 a night, out of pocket for the players. And any player in that tournament is also going to receive breakfast at the hotel. We're going to have
it'll be $119 plus taxes. We want to make sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That including breakfast, we'll have lunches on site, and Lisa, we're going to do 3 dinners for the players. So there is a couple nights, two of the nights that you could potentially be in Boston where you'd end up having to go out and do that. But we have kept that at the absolute top of our priority list. And Bruce talks about an evolution of this event. This is the ideal. The ideal is to have this occur annually. And we thought how great it would be to get the kids to stay in a dormitory where we could have eliminated the cost. But again, the feedback from parents were, look, if I'm going to go to Boston, I want to have my kids supervised. I want to be supervising the kids myself, and I'm going to have to stay in a hotel anyway. So the best solution we could come up with was that one. And your point also about the timing is a very fair one. If at any point a player who's entered that tournament wants to get some direct feedback on the probability of he or she getting into the tournament, we have an email link and we have a phone number on that registration portal. Pick up the call or ping out a quick email, and we can give you a best estimate, a pretty accurate estimate as the tournament committee as to whether or not he or she will get in.
That's fantastic. Let me address a point that you made, Bill, about the feedback that you got regarding staying in the dorms. This is an opportunity, I feel, for us, and I'm lumping myself in with USTA and New Balance right now as Parenting Aces, to do a better job educating parents about why it would be great for them to send their child without the parents tagging along. And I understand for this first year there's really not time to do that, but I would love to see a commitment from all of the partners involved in this event to do that education piece between this first year and the second year in hopes of having the kids have that valuable experience of staying in the college dorms without mom and dad tagging along. I think it's a brilliant opportunity for them, and I understand if it's a 13-year-old going that maybe a parent wouldn't be comfortable sending them alone, but certainly a high school age player, I would really encourage parents to revisit that issue. You guys there?
We don't disagree.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, we totally agree.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
good. I was hearing crickets there for a minute. I was getting a little nervous.
No, it was I think as Bill said, our full intent was to set up a dorm arrangement and have we hope, and our efforts are going to be for every participant and their families to have a unique experience. And we're excited to be able to do that. And one of the original ideas and intents would be to go in that direction, but it's difficult, as you know.
Yeah.
So we want to make everyone as comfortable as we can.
Sure. And
the other thing, Lisa, for consideration is, given that we've talked about this a few times already, this is a first-year event, and once we establish the event's excellence, it becomes easier to add this to the narrative. We were starting from a position where Bruce came up with an idea that really hadn't occurred before in the U.S. There used to be an interscholastics in Durham, North Carolina, many generations ago, right? But this thing is a foreign concept. To explain to parents and families and coaches what this event is, and by the way, send your kid to a dorm, it will be easier in year 2 to make certain shifts to the paradigm that we created this year based on the successes that we will have.
Absolutely. And let me ask one more logistical question really quickly while I'm thinking about it. So the hotel that will be used for the tournaments in Boston proper, will families need to rent a car, or how will the players get from the hotel to the Harvard courts each day for competition?
We'll have regular transportation running back and forth. So the families will have to get to the hotel, but we will have regular transportation running back and forth from the site.
Okay, awesome. So
it's fairly close. It's almost walkable. It depends on your athletic ability.
Yeah. 2 miles, and we'll put buses on a rotation, so we'll be able to get kids back and forth. And that way, to your point, Lisa, there isn't rental car costs, which are, as you know, as a tennis mom, that's a significant portion when you're flying with your son or daughter.
Sure. No, that's fantastic. And Boston itself has great public transportation, so for people wanting to explore the city, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Well, the other thing, Lisa, is it's from my office, I can see the Harvard tennis courts. The New Balance's headquarters are right adjacent to Harvard, and our people will be very involved in it. So the extra help will be significant. And we're also working with the New England section of the USTA, and they're going to be involved helping as well. So we're going to be overly staffed, I think.
That's a good thing, especially for a first year. I think that's a really good thing.
Yep.
So you guys are planning some special events in conjunction with the tournament itself. Do you want to share with us what's on tap?
Sure. I don't know if it's hard. We don't have all the things locked down, but there'll be an opening dinner at Harvard, a reception for the players on Sunday evening. We're working on a tour of Boston as well that ends up at one of the, I'm going to call it a historical site, Bill. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's fair. I thought you were going to give away another clue just then, but that's fine if you do.
I think ending hopefully at a venue that the kids will enjoy. I'm sure they will. It's a significant location. So those are yet to be finalized, so I don't want to promise and not deliver, but we're on the verge of having those things finished at this time. But I think the kids will have a great time, and part of our intention is to keep them busy in the evening.
That's
and offer
great.
them some unique opportunities that only Boston can offer.
Sure.
A couple of the things that we're toying with the idea of, and to Bruce's point, we have not been able to finalize all this stuff. Luckily, we're still 3 months out from when the tournament begins, but we're planning on doing a lot of on-site, that is at the hotel, some really fun activities, whether it's ping pong tournaments, whether it's karaoke, just things that'll really capture the kids and make sure that they're programmed off the court. We also want to bring in some other experts, whether it's to run a simulated team practice or to talk to the kids about nutrition, talk to the kids about fitness training. We want to make sure that the kids are there for a purpose, to play tournaments, to enjoy this incredibly unique experience, but we want to make sure that their time is really well programmed while they're in Boston.
And will there be educational sessions for the parents as well, or are you really focusing solely on the kids this year?
We're really focusing on the kids. It's not to say that we wouldn't offer that in some point, but, this is all about the high school tennis player, frankly. And, we want the kids to have an incredible experience the first year.
See, I think
we
you're
want to have an incredible experience every year.
Right. I think you're well on your way to phasing us parents out of this event. I think that's a good thing. I honestly, I am a strong believer in fostering independence in these players, especially once they're in high school. And I just really commend you guys for what you've pulled together here. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's talk about what New Balance is hoping to gain from this in terms of involvement in high school tennis. Do you, Bruce, foresee New Balance taking a more active role in the high school tennis associations around the country, or maybe you guys already have one? I've told both of you this off the air. My son chose not to play for his high school this year, which I'm now really regretting since he won't get to come to Boston this summer. But so I'm not familiar with what involvement, if any, New Balance currently has with the high school associations. But maybe you can address that a little bit.
Sure. We actually do in running. We're very connected, and although independently from this, and as Bill mentioned earlier, we're working with a terrific company, Home Team Marketing, who is connecting us with each individual high school association one at a time. We've partnered with over 20 of them this year already, and we're doing some testing at just a smattering of the championships. But our real goal is to actually try and offer a connectivity at a higher level to high school players and to high school coaches. My high school coach, and I'm 1,000 years old now, still coaches. And I'm sure he gets about $500 a year and it's truly because of his love of the game. And those people have been underappreciated and unrecognized in large part, and we want to pay attention to them. We think they matter, and obviously I still remember my coach and other coaches I know, and they're very receptive and looking for someone to talk to about it as well as help them in their programs. Obviously the funding of high school sports is dire, let's say, especially by the time you get down to a sport like tennis. And in any way we can help, we'd like to do that.
That's great. Bill, can you address maybe what's going to happen in terms of the players who are homeschooled, their eligibility to participate in this event, and also is there a requirement that the players are members of USTA in order to register for this event?
Happy to address both of those, but I might just, if you'll allow me to tag on to something Bruce said, one of the reasons why this partnership has been such an easy one is Bruce came to us with that vision right away, that these are thousands of kids that maybe don't get all the opportunities that kids do get when they're participating in tournaments. And just to share the numbers on that, Lisa, because it's really significant, there are fewer than 100,000 boys and girls in the U.S., in all the age groups, 18s, 16s, 14s, 12s, 10s, etc., boys and girls that participate in one or more sanctioned tournament. Less than 100,000, but there's more than 350,000 who participate in high school tennis. So think about that. This is a vast ocean of young people who play our sport and play our sport frequently. So the fact that we get to touch those, and by the way, only 23,128 of these kids play 6 or more tournaments. So, the idea of reaching way beyond our typical ripple effect here at the USTA was really exciting, and it made for the partnership that, it has made for a really easy partnership. It's allowing all of us to sort of spread the gospel of our sport. In terms of answering your question, that question arose recently about how we're going to handle the homeschool players. And I will say this: if the player does not participate on his or her high school team, then they're not eligible, and we're strict about that. There are examples of boys and girls who are getting homeschooled who participate on their high school team, on their varsity team, and those players could play in this tournament. And your question about any membership requirement for the USTA, this is a New Balance event. We're listing on the National Junior schedule, but this is a New Balance event. And I don't think, Bruce will correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you need a New Balance membership to enter this either, do you, Bruce?
No, you don't.
So the answer is they do not have to be USTA members in order to participate.
No, that's the case. So far, there's 45 entries, and they all are. I mean, typically, it seems that this tournament has been very attractive to kids that are already participating in tournaments, are pretty switched on. And but no, there is no requirement whatsoever that you have to belong to any national government body, to enter this tournament. Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, my guess is the reason they're all USTA members is because they're hearing about it through vehicles that are connected in some way, shape, or form to USTA. So, I mean, the trick is to get the word out outside of the regular USTA circles. And, that's why I wanted to have you guys on here, because hopefully by virtue of doing interviews like this, and I'm sure I'm one of many, many that you guys will do over the next couple months, you'll be able to reach that wider audience. I mean, I know my son's high school tennis team, the year he played for the team, his freshman year, I managed the Facebook page for the team, and I'm still an admin on it. So I've been publicizing this tournament on that Facebook page, and publicized today's show and all of that there in hopes of reaching those kids who aren't your usual USTA tournament players but are playing for the school. So I hope that others are doing similar work, in terms of their own high school teams. I think y'all have a huge challenge in front of you, in terms of getting the word out to the non-USTA tournament playing high schoolers. I think that's going to, it's going to be a tough ask for this first year. So I'm really hoping that people that are listening today will help spread the word among their non-tournament playing buddies, and hopefully the coaches of the high school teams will do a good job at getting the word out to their players. Because I'm so in favor of this event. I think it's such a fantastic opportunity, and I really applaud New Balance and USTA for coming together to do this.
Well, we're really grateful for the exposure you're giving the event, especially at this the early stages of building the foundation for it. I think one of the other ways we're getting at is through those high school associations. It's interesting. I've had a lot of feedback from sales reps of ours at accounts where high school coaches or athletic directors buy product for the teams, and they've called the accounts to find out more information about the event. So the word's getting out there surprisingly well. We're happy with the early start, but as you mentioned, I don't think there's ever enough.
Well, it's
Lisa, another thing to chew on is again that vast space of boys and girls who are not currently participating in sanctioned tournaments currently that are certainly eligible for this. Think about all their coaches, and that's why we're so delighted to be part of this large team led by Bruce, because there is outreach to all these state associations, and by virtue of that outreach, there's communication to all these high school athletic departments. There are about 15,000 high school coaches in the country. Can you imagine if we could kind of get them pulling on the rope with us about trying to get their players to participate in more levels-based competition and to participate in the, quote, off-season? I know for a tennis mom like you, there really isn't an off-season because your son and his friends, they play tennis, 13 months of the year. But for a lot of people, they're seasonal players, and we would love, as a sport, to get more players playing more frequently. And this is sort of just this is the cherry on top competition for the sport, for the sport for kids who participate in high school. But hopefully those 15,000 high school coaches out there can really start helping us to move the dial.
Do you think that this event has the potential to get the college coaches to pay more attention to high school tennis?
I can't speak for Bill's side of it, but I certainly hope so. I'm sure, it's true across the board in sports that not everybody gets the exposure that they deserve or can. So, if even one or two more players get recognized as a result, I think we've helped the game and helped those kids.
I agree. I mean, I would love for y'all to, as this expands, to invite the college coaches to be there. I mean, obviously it's at Harvard. I'm assuming Dave Fish and crew will be around to watch, but there's so many schools in the area that, could hopefully send a coach or an assistant over to scout these kids.
Well, I think, first of all, I'd like to thank you for bringing up Dave and his crew, because they're a partner in this with us, and I think that's I think your point is more than valid. It's compelling. It's one of the reasons we picked Harvard. Not only are they a neighbor of ours, but there's probably not a more formidable institution in the world. It'd be among the top if you asked anyone in the world to name a university or a college. And it's one of the reasons we went with them. And Dave and his staff are well-known and well-received and do an incredible job and have been terrific across the board with both New Balance and the USTA in all aspects of this event. So I would be surprised if college coaches don't take advantage of the opportunity. I'm a little bit of the Cheshire Cat, kind of laughing if they don't. I would, but that's up to them.
Are you publicizing it to them? I mean, or is Dave helping get the word out among his peers?
I think we haven't gone to, well, Dave is actually, but we could do more in that area for sure.
Because, I mean, honestly, I feel like that would be a really big draw for some players that might be on the fence if they know they're going to have the opportunity to be seen by a college coach, especially the players who, like Bill mentioned at the beginning of the hour, aren't playing a national schedule necessarily, but this is an opportunity for them to play against players from all over the country, and to get to do so under the watchful eye of some college coaches is a huge selling point.
Very good point.
Lisa, one of the coins of realm that I hear you talked about on occasion is the tennis recruiting. These results will count for the kids, whether they're 3 stars or 4 stars or whatever. One of the things to bear in mind also that the champion on the boys' side and the champion on the girls' side for this tournament is going to earn a wild card directly into the U.S. International Hard Courts, which is that ITF tournament at College Park, Maryland, shortly prior to the U.S. Open. So that is really a bit of a golden ticket also. I think that'll help us to get some of the top players in this tournament where there's really no other way of kind of getting, as you know, getting into these high-level ITF tournaments present a whole different kettle of fish. It's really tough. And so I think that will be an incredible draw for this event too. And at the end of the day, when we get players of a certain level and coaches, whether it's coaches at the Division III level or whether it's the University of Georgia down near you, if players of a certain standard are participating in that, coaches will be interested in watching them as their schedules permit.
Sure. Nick, you brought up an interesting point, and I'm so glad you brought it up because I totally forgot to ask you this. One of the things that we said is a player could be 19 years old and still participate in your tournament, but a 19-year-old cannot participate in the ITF event. So what happens if a 19-year-old wins?
Well, if a 19-year-old wins and they're not eligible to play in that tournament, then they're not getting a wild card into that tournament. So I think we'd have to go back as a committee and sort that out. I use that 19-year-old as to help in making the point. At the moment, we don't have any 19-year-olds who've entered the tournament. So, again, this is a carrot that we're offering to try to attract a bigger and a really representative field for the tournament. But in the end, it's if they're not if they don't meet the age eligibility requirement for a tournament where we're offering the wild card, then we're not able to offer the wild card.
Right. So would it just go to the runner-up, or y'all haven't really worked that out yet? That's still under discussion?
We would have to discuss that, yeah. I don't want to speak out of turn on that.
Okay. It just was something I was thinking about when you talked about the 19-year, that eligibility thing. Can we go back to selection a little bit, too? Because, again, this is the question I'm getting most often from Parenting Aces readers is, the whole idea of spreading out the entrants across the country, I think is very cool. But given the fact that, again, not every state has a high school singles championship, and like you mentioned, Pennsylvania has that interesting rule in their high school association about national championships and all of that. I know there's still stuff to work out, but how are y'all leaning right now in terms of the geographic diversity?
We want to be exceptionally diverse. How's that? I'm kidding, Lisa. It really is a little premature still. As I mentioned, we have 40 entrants plus. We need considerably more to even get a handle on where they're coming from. And as I mentioned, it's the first year we're gonna face some interesting decisions in it. Hopefully, that we have enough entrants that it becomes where the committee's got to go and make some difficult decisions, if you will. But I think as Bill mentioned earlier, our real goal initially was to spread it out and offer it across the board. And to your point, and Bill's earlier, it's impossible based on the way the high school associations are arranged and the formats, but we'd still like to come as close to that as we can.
Okay. I mean, I go back to the whole notion of quota and, the challenges that presents, and so I agree with you, Bruce. Hopefully it's a problem this year. Hopefully you have so many entries that you're going to have to make those cuts and figure it out. But I guess this will be one of those things that you'll kind of figure out as you go, as the challenges present to you. But I think one of the highlights, Lisa, has been, frankly, that the openness everyone's had to it in understanding the situation and what we're trying to do. And unlike certain things that happen in our sport, it's one where I've seen a whole lot more camaraderie because everyone has the right intention in mind. And I'm really pleased by that, frankly, having been in this game a long, long, long time. Frankly, it's one of the it's a surprising reward out of all this. I'm and not to pat Bill and the organization and the USTA on the back and fire everybody too hard, but the USTA has been a phenomenal partner in this and willing to be flexible and figure out. And I think we're going to learn a lot this first year. And as a result, there may be some changes in year 2 and 3 and beyond. But I think everyone, in fairness, I can honestly say everyone's intent, including the state associations and the people we're working with, really understand we're trying to do something different. And so all the answers aren't in front of us, and everyone's been okay with that. Trying to have a different event that really helps these kids and helps our game. Do you anticipate the event staying at Harvard in future years, or do you see this maybe moving around the country?
We don't have a plan, but Harvard's a great partner and obviously a great institution. And as I said, it's arguably across the street from our offices. So it's kind of nice. We can do some special things in Boston as a result. So I would say our preference would be to keep it at Harvard, and we'll see how it evolves.
And do you...
Lisa, one thing to quickly add to that is that Bruce is talking about what a great institution Harvard is and how it's a neighbor. I'm a bit of a tennis snob, and their tennis facility there is spectacular, and that matters a lot to me as someone who's an organizer. Kids are going to have a fabulous time. There's great viewing. There's a great area for the players to convene in between matches. It will be a fabulous place, and you're, within that walking distance to Harvard Square in Cambridge. It's a really cool location. I'll just say that without, offering any perspective at all on 2015, 16, and beyond. But I think that the site itself will be spectacular this summer.
No question.
And I'd like to throw one more thing. And Lisa, I apologize for talking out of school for a second. We were speaking about your son before we came on the air and about his looking at colleges and all. And I've had the tour of Harvard. I've toured hundreds of campuses, really. And, I would want all my children to tour Harvard for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
So from that sense, I think we're at one of the pinnacle locations possible.
For sure, no question. Do you see that the potential for this national event to maybe be the impetus to starting some maybe regional events around the country that would be feeder events into this in future years?
Well, I think our intent is to make more out of the state championships in each state. We'd like to be involved in that and make that a more recognized event. We want to work with the states and with high school tennis and take advantage of what they're bringing to the table already. And we want to jump in and help those. So I think in any sense that'll be much more important to us. As I mentioned, we're going to be involved in a handful of them this year. I think we've done one or two already. But our intent is to hopefully get involved in all of them if we can.
And when you say get involved, as a sponsor, or what does that mean exactly?
Well, absolutely as a sponsor, but I think, we don't want to be a sponsor and have a banner hanging on the fence. We want to offer benefits to the coaches and to the players. And that's what we're working on through this event. And then we want to take that down to the local, to the state level, if you will, and beneath it if we can. So, it's not about having a New Balance banner even remotely. We want to touch those players and coaches and offer them some opportunities and assistance if we can.
Fantastic. How are the high school coaches being invited to this summer's event?
That's a great question. Bill, are they?
Well, the high school coaches can come, but absolutely. We were concerned based on some conversations with state associations about eligibility, and the last thing we would ever want to do in running this tournament is to jeopardize anyone's high school eligibility if they're an underclassman or an underclass woman, for that matter. But certainly, positively, if a kid wins, if a kid's selected from Connecticut or from Pennsylvania, there's no reason that the high school coach can't come up and watch the match. But they will be governed by rules. The high school coach is not going to be sitting on the court coaching. I mean, this is going to be an individual singles tournament. I don't know if you're going in that direction, Lisa.
Well, no, more actually what I'm curious about, and my only experiences with high school tennis are my own personal experience from a million years ago and my son's experience at his high school now. I would really love to see some education for the high school tennis coaches, and I don't know if that's kind of, on the agenda at all, or if y'all have talked about that, and I have no idea how the eligibility rules work. I know how they work in Georgia. It's crazy here, but for example, and I think I've mentioned this to both of y'all, the tennis coach, the men's tennis coach at my son's high school is a football conditioning coach who doesn't play tennis and will tell you straight up, tennis is not his sport. He really doesn't know much about it. What he does know is coaching. He's a great coach, but he doesn't know the game of tennis. And so, I was thinking this might be a really cool opportunity to get coaches like him to an event where maybe he can expand his knowledge base.
Well, I think that opportunity may present itself more at the state level going forward, just from ease of logistics. But it's a terrific idea. I had a similar situation even in college, and part of me is God bless those guys that
right.
take that on and help those kids regardless of their knowledge. And I think that's one of the cooler parts about high school and certainly small college and other tennis. That there are people in there that do it to help the kids and like it, and if we can help them, to your point, educationally, I think down the road that'll be one of the things we talk about doing.
Yeah, I just think it would be really
Lisa,
cool.
I think you're also on to something that's really a terrific point, Lisa, which is that, again, there's maybe 15,000 or so boys and girls high school coaches in the U.S. And when you think about one of the real inefficiencies in our system, junior system in this country, is we don't have a great entry-level system. And it would be so wonderful for especially a few thousand of these high school coaches to begin embracing the idea of running local entry-based or level-based competitions out of their own schools, because almost all that football coach who looks after your son's team, he probably does have access to that local high school courts in the summer. So, your idea of educating the coaches is something we've given a lot of thought of and how to do that. We do have some pretty good mailing lists, but the wider that we can kind of reach out, the more beneficial it will be to the sport of tennis. Considering that in 2013, there were only 2,147 tournament directors in the entire country. I would love to see that number expand by 50%, by 100%. And, you're talking about is ripe fruit for that, because, Bruce's old high school coach who's up to $500 a year, and he does it because of his love and passion for our great sport. That old high school coach of Bruce is probably the one who runs tennis in the area. So we really want to tap into those folks.
Yeah, I think it would be a great way for the high school players to get more involved and for the coaches themselves. I just feel like the year that my son did play for his high school team, I wrote several articles on Parenting Aces that year about his experience. And one of the things that was so unique about having a football coach the tennis team was it's a very different type of coaching than anything my son had ever been exposed to before that time. And I think he grew a lot, not just as a tennis player. Well, I'm not sure he grew as a tennis player actually as a result, but he definitely grew as a person, and it taught him a lot about himself and having expectations of himself, and I think those were very valuable lessons. So I think it's a great thing to have non-tennis people coaching these kids, but I also think there's some basic information that maybe would benefit everybody, and this certainly seems like it would be an appropriate venue to offer that. Maybe, again, not this first year, but as the event evolves going forward.
That's a great point, Lisa.
So, all right, what am I forgetting to ask y'all? What do people need to know, and what message do you want to share that I haven't asked you about yet? Because I want to make sure we get the word out and get it out appropriately.
I'd like to, I'll lead and then turn it to Bill for a second. First of all, I want to thank you. Hopefully it's not that time yet, but I do want to thank you for A, your support, and B, for having us on. We're really, really grateful for it. I do want to point out to everybody, as I mentioned, it's been a phenomenal experience to date with everyone's desire to, if you will, do the right thing here. And really the USTA has suited up in a way beyond my wildest expectations, and SJX and Home Team Marketing and Harvard. And I think we'll continue to add to that list, including yourself, Lisa, in the show. We're really grateful. I would encourage people to enter. Look, this isn't a standard junior tournament. I don't think there shouldn't be any fear about it. And I think, some people will be really, really happy they did. And we're going to make sure they do that. Our goal is to build a very successful event for high school players, and then take it deeper down to the state level, as I mentioned. And in the first year, as is the case in many things, there'll be a lot. I honestly think there'll be a lot more opportunity for a broader base of players to enter and participate. So I would encourage people to do so.
Great. And again, to enter the tournament, the entry form is on Tennis Link. So if you go to, give us the exact link again.
Well, if you Google New Balance Tennis High School Tournament, it'll come up to the New Balance page, which is good. And from there, you can link to our Tennis Link page. Otherwise, just go to USTA.com and go to Tennis Link the way you would at any point. And when you go to the Tennis Link page, click to tournaments, then click to National Junior Tournaments, click to July, and it's listed as July 21 through 24, the New Balance High School Tennis Championship in Boston. You can't miss it, and you can enter that way the way you would any other ones. The entry fee for this is, by the way, really low as compared to most junior tournaments. That, again, is thanks to New Balance. The other thing that Bruce has not mentioned, which is also going to be an extraordinary thing for all the boys and girls who enter this tournament, is they're going to get a really great package of stuff from the company. I mean, obviously, it is a sneaker and apparel giant, and they're located in Boston, and they're going to be incredibly supportive of the kids. We started off by saying, let's imagine all the wonderful things that are at Kalamazoo, and let's see what we can replicate. There's no way we're going to be able to replicate the legacy and the tradition, not right away, but we can make the tournament so customer and consumer friendly, and that's what we're aiming to do. When players arrive in Boston, they know they know when the first matches are going to be, and they know when the last matches are going to end for all the kids. So it's really easy to schedule. Well, it's easier at least to schedule your traveling in and travel out. We'll start with a really fun welcome dinner at Harvard University. I tip my hat on that one. Matches start on Monday morning, July 21st, and it will be an absolute roar of a week. There's going to be great off-court activity and programming, and the kids are going to get a lot of great competition at a beautiful, incredible tennis facility at Harvard University, and then they can leave after a specific time on Thursday afternoon on July 24th in advance of their next tennis experience next summer. So if you have a boy or a girl, or if you're coaching a high school age player, this is going to be an incredibly memorable first tournament.
I think it's fantastic. Now, it mentions on the website that there's some speakers potentially lined up for the event too. Do y'all have anybody confirmed that you want to share?
Well, for the opening night, I think I'll say tentatively. Is that okay, Bill?
Yeah.
I'll go tentatively that our CEO will be speaking, Rob DiMartini, as well as Dave Haggerty, the president of the USTA, which we're delighted that both of them. It's a significant event for both, and I'm going to speak for Bill on this. I think that says volumes about the event.
Absolutely. And the speaking engagement will be aimed more toward the players or toward the parents or both?
Absolutely at the players.
Okay.
This is about the high school players. So.
Very cool. So
we're also proposing whether it's college coaches or other experts in the field to spend time with the kids, because let's face it, the way we're going to be structuring matches, there'll be 16 matches on. So that means there'll be a bunch of boys or girls who are not on the court, and we want to have structured activities for them, whether it's an organized practice, whether it's a lecture hall to get out of the heat where someone's talking about the importance of hydration and nutrition. We're going to have some experts to come in and do that. We'll rely on our network of contacts to bring in some really worthwhile speakers and again, deliver an incredible experience for those who are participating in this tournament.
Fantastic. My only regret is that my son didn't play for a school this year and can't come, but he'll be one of those 19-year-olds in year two. So.
Look, you know what, Lisa, actually, in fairness, what you just said is kind of our intent. We hope more kids want to play high school tennis.
Right.
As you mentioned, it's an incredible experience. My kids played, I played, I'm sure you and Bill played, and you know what? There are some fond memories of that, and it's different than playing at the more elite level, and I think it's in a lot of different ways is rewarding. So
Definitely, definitely. Well, I want to thank you both for taking time out of your very, very busy days to come be with us and share more details. I encourage my listeners to check the website because it is being updated as more and more details are hammered out. And I look forward to speaking with you guys again after this event and having you debrief us on what a success it was. So good luck with it, and if there's anything Parenting Aces can do to help, you know where to reach me.
Lisa, thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. Have a great week, everybody. I'll see you on the court.